Mike Lang, I'm the Chief Innovative Program Officer at edX. Uh, the playground, this kind of space that we created, is going to be kind of experimental. We're going to play around with some ideas and whatnot. To come back and watch these anytime that you like. Again, apologies for the audio issues. Thought that was totally, sussed out. But it is what it is. Life goes on, and we'll handle our business. All right. And so we're going to play around with the idea of poetry tonight, just because it's National Poetry Month. And unfortunately, poetry is one of those things in school that is a kind of a niche, kind of like a idea that you kind of throw away and play, add to like we don't see as a legitimate way of learning things. We'll say that you might do an acrostic poem maybe to introduce yourself at some point, but we never really seriously read poetry. We very rarely seriously write poetry in school. But poetry gives us a outlet for our learners that prose does not. Prose is very staunch in its rules, right? Its structures are very staunch. The grammar, the syntax of sentences is very staunch. It's also long form, right? I'm talking about paragraphs and pages and essays, things that generally learners, especially learners at a very young age, are not very interested in. Not that we shouldn't teach prose, not that we shouldn't learn how to write in prose, but poetry gives us a more creative and imaginative space where we can acquiesce to the rules that we would like, and we can decide to suspend the rules that we don't and still be understood and still have our view of the world recognized. And about third grade-ish, I went to the library at Fort Lincoln Elementary School, Washington, D.C. Miss Perrin was our librarian. She was a great lady, one of the people that really stoked my desire to read. And she allowed us to kind of just wander around the library as most good librarians do. And I happened upon a book. And that book had an author whose name was all lowercase. And me thinking in my third grade brain, Miss Komar, who's my teacher, had kind of, very much taught us that your name is a proper noun. Both your first name and your last name should be capitalized. And who do I see but E. Cummings in his book of one of his verses of poetry on this shelf? And so I open it up, and he's writing in all lowercase letters, and the words are dripping, and they're on the side sometimes. They create animals and stuff. I was like, man, this guy has all this freedom to write. My teacher would never let me get away with that. And that is what drew me to poetry at the beginning, when very, very young. And I've been writing little poems and things ever since. Lots of my stuff has been kind of published up in different places and stuff, under pseudonyms and whatnot. But it's something I've tried to get my students to do every time I've taught, whether it's haiku, whether it's just couplets, any way to express themselves in a way that allows them to really be considerate of words, word choice, but also being considerate of space. And that's what, look, and that concept is one of the things that drew us to Twitter, right? And kind of the reason why I don't like Twitter as much now. You only had 140 characters or whatever it was. You had to be very concise. And poetry is it forces you to be concise. It forces you to attempt to be understood in a sitting, rather than someone having 3 or 4 hours to read over and over what's going on. And so that's it's challenging, but it's fun. And today we're going to take that idea, and not with written poems, even though you could do this with poems your students have written, but with pre-existing poems, and reimagine them using some AI tools. And AI has been pretty hot over the last couple months. Some people love it. Some people think it's the worst thing in the world. I happen to think that it's just the way that things are going to be. And as educators, as thought leaders, as people who help students to visualize and revisualize the world, we have to be embracers of AI. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mix and match. We're going to take some poetry, we're going to reimagine it. We're going to lead you on this journey, something that you can duplicate in your classroom with very little stress. Uh, that is going to be our goal through this entire series. We're not trying to stress people out and cause you to have to go and create a whole bunch of lesson plans and preparation and stuff. How can we do this and allow our learners to kind of take the wheels, all right? And so it'll take us 35 minutes maybe to go through the whole thing. If you got questions or comments or concerns, the chat box is always open. You can shoot me an email, shoot us a tweet, whatever's clever. This will be watched in perpetuity, so you can go back to it and check it out. I'll kind of chop this up a little bit, edit it just a little bit because of our audio difficulty, so you don't have to sit through that the next time. But it is what it is. Let's get started. And we're going to start at a place that I tend to like to go for my particular poems, and that is poets.org. And if you've never been to poets.org, this is a place to find not only kind of contemporary poets, but poets who are kind of the older generation, the avant-garde, the people that I kind of grew up idolizing. Lord Byron and E. Cummings and Langston Hughes and those types. Those poems are all here, so you don't have to go searching for them anyway and everywhere. And I'm going to make this slightly larger. All right, cool. The cool thing about this is you can find poems there. You can find poets. There's a poem of a day, and we're actually going to use the poem of the day here because it kind of hits what we're trying to hit, like dead on the head. They're materials for teachers, and this is one of those things to avoid having to create work for yourself. And so they already have National Poetry Month materials for you. There's 30 days there. There's some poems for kids. There's lesson plans by themes already there. And then this teach this poem. Sign up for this if you're interested in dealing with poetry in your classrooms. They'll give you some strategies for how to teach the poem they send you. And it's great as a warm-up activity. It's great also as if you're an elementary school teacher, that last 20, 25 minutes of the day when you're kind of winding down. Poetry helps you go to places that I think prose doesn't, especially the poems that are usually picked for that particular program. So definitely. I've not had a bad experience with that at all. And they're wonderful lesson plans and resources that are already curated and created for you. You don't have to go and figure those things out. All right, cool. So as always, we're going to start with some empathy, and we're going to look here at Virginia Autumn by Molly McCulley Brown. It is the poem of the day. It is cool for what we're going to do. And what you'll notice about this, if you're talking about students who are reluctant readers or ELs or anything like that, this is a lot more, you're a lot better able to read this in a single sitting than 3 or 4 pages of a book, perhaps. Also, and I kind of skipped over it, you've got the ability to have that read to you. And so students who, again, I just like things read to me despite the fact that I'm pretty literate. If you want to have it read to you, it can be read to you. So that helps your ELs, that helps students who are perhaps not reading on grade level to also access the materials and to be able to have conversations and consultations with other students and yourself as you go through everything. So let's look at this poem here, and I'm going to just make it big. All right, great. And what you'll find is it is written with this is not a rhyming poem. It has some rhythm to it, has some meter to it, but it's not a rhyming poem. It's also a great example to students that all poems don't have to rhyme. I mean, for the longest time when I was a little kid, I thought all poems had to rhyme. No, this is not one that rhymes. So it also demonstrates, will help you demonstrate how to read a poem with students. You'll notice that oftentimes, if you look at that very first line, Students will read the poem thusly. October, I'm dragging the dog away from perfect birds, and they will stop there. Rather, October, I'm dragging the dog away from the perfect birds lifeless on the pavement. By the water, boys in dress blues with bayonets, the blistered hulls of box ships. Everything is sunshine. Everything is dead or dying. And this isn't a new thought. I grew up here, but farther from the ocean. Each April, they took us up to the battlefield, marched us in schoolhouse lines up courthouse steps. Here is where the war ended. Never mind that it was fall before the final battleship lowered its flag. Never mind that we still haven't fired the last gun. What business do I have wanting a baby here, in this body where I can't keep my balance, this country where we can't keep anything alive that needs us, or dares not to, or even the switchgrass pale and starve for groundwater? And still, I do want. I searched the news for mentions of the birds. Whatever poisons or disease I'm sure is claiming them in such great numbers. Meadowlarks, house wrens, chickadees, starlings. Once even a gray gull pulled up at the chest before we found him, hallowed of his organs. It takes a long time, too long, for me to understand the sun in this season is blinding, and the birds are flying into windows all around me, 14 stories up, flying into glass and falling. What we love is rarely blameless. Is it a failure that I would trade this brightness? I imagine pointing upward for my daughter. Look, there, how it catches in the changing trees. Lots to unpack in there. You've got some ecological things going on, progress, really, really super deep poem. In terms of packing it up and kind of unpacking it, we're going to let the AI do it. How so? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to copy her poem. All right, great. And the interesting tool that we're going to use is Stable Diffusion. And if you're not someone who's familiar with AI, Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, those kind of tools are all text to image AI tools. They'll take a description or a prompt, as it's called. They'll take that prompt and they'll make something out of the prompt. And so, with no guidance, no evaluation, no changing or anything, what does AI say this poem looks like? The whole idea of a picture being 1,000 words, being worth 1,000 words. Let's just check this out. We're going to get deeper into image diffusion in a second. So we'll take that. Next, let's go to the playground. We'll come back to the playground in a little while as well. Cool. And I'm going to paste that prompt right inside there, that entire poem. Let's see what the AI thinks. And this could take some time. The reason why Stable Diffusion is great for schools, it does not take any information about the user. So outside perhaps my IP address or whatever, I'm not logging in. I'm not giving it my name, my age, or anything like that. I'm just utilizing the tool. And so let's see what it says. So see that it definitely caught on the idea of beach was there. You know, the images of the humans aren't super great. We got a boat there. I definitely got like getting beach vibes from the poem, so it's picking up on that. All right, interesting beach vibes. Humans not looking too cool there. We kind of got like this weird collage type situation here with it makes you think of kind of a more rural beach community and stuff. You get those vibes from it. So it generally has the vibes that we want. Does it tell the story that we want, though, is the question. I don't think so. So let's kind of play around here just a little bit. Let's look back at this poem. And when we're designing images, all right, and when we're designing with AI, one of the things that gets lost in this is that people who haven't played around with the prompt generation stuff will think this is cheating, this is easy, you just tell it and it suddenly creates things. Prompt engineering is super difficult, especially if you're doing it without the aid of other humans, right? If you Google engineering prompts for Stable Diffusion or Midjourney, whatever, you'll have a lot of research people have done. It's not a exact science, but it's really about students writing as descriptively as possible, and that is inside your standards, right? Descriptive writing, being able to utilize your text in order to instruct someone on how to do something, that's all you're telling the AI here. So it's not a situation in which we have abandoned the human capability of learning, of contributing, of collaborating. It really is a true collaboration between what you're describing, what your thoughts are in your head, and what you want the AI to accomplish. All right, so if we're looking here, this poem has no artwork, has no images whatsoever. And what we're going to do is break down the poem, create the ideas, and then create a prompt from that idea, and then feed it into Stable Diffusion and see what pops off. All right, so let's look here. And so when we think about just breaking down the poem, just to kind of get to our goal here, just some couple questions that I made up. First, does the poems mention any person? If not, does it remind you of anyone? Second, why might this poem have been written? Third, how does the poem make you feel? Fourth, what locations are mentioned in the poem? If there are none, does the poem remind you of any locations? And does the poem mention any specific times? If not, when does the poem make you feel or think about? And are there any words or ideas that seems to be important in this poem? Let's go through what our poet wrote here. In the very first word says October. We go back here. Specific times, October would be a specific time, right? And October is, we're also talking about fall or autumn. Let me put fall, autumn, because it's the same concept. Great. All right, let's go through here again. I'm dragging the dog away from the perfect birds lifeless on the pavement. So she mentions there's birds and there's dogs. All right. So person, people, objects, let's do that. Dogs. And there's lifeless birds, not just birds, but lifeless birds. These are not birds that are flying. And she mentions lifeless birds a couple times, right? By the water, boys in dress blues with bayonets. I'm just going to copy that entire. That's super descriptive. Let's take that entire concept and let's place that there. Important. Now, also, as we're doing this, what you're assessing your students on is comprehension of the poem, right? So if they're picking out the things that you're categorizing, oh, absolutely, positively, that person understands that poem, or they have no idea what they're talking about, right? We can really kind of hone on that as well. All right, so dress blues, blistered hulls of box ships. So box ships are there. A person doesn't also say things or ideas it mentions. So box ships are a thing there. Cool. Everything is sunshine. So in terms of time of day or ideas there, we can say that sunshine is a time of day. Everything is dead or dying. This is a new thought. That really goes to that autumnish type of idea. I grew up here but farther from the ocean. All right, so each April they took us to a battlefield. So this April is mentioned as well. And battlefields are mentioned. Let's put the location. So battlefield. Not battlefield. Also, the ocean is mentioned as well. All right, cool. They marched us in the schoolhouse lines up the courthouse steps. It's kind of giving me like Civil War vibes too. Like I'm thinking Appomattox. Really feels like it says Virginia, so I'm assuming there's definitely some Civil War vibes here. All right, so I'm going to write the word Civil War here as well in terms of time. And in terms of locations, we got a courthouse as well. All right, cool. We got a courthouse there. Never mind, this will fall behind a battleship loaded as guns. So that's again kind of this war theme that's there. Never mind, we still fired the last gun. What business do I want having a baby here in this body where I can't keep my balance? This country where we can't keep anything alive that needs us. Really Ecology in here is really, really, really deep. Meadowlarks, house wrens, and chickadees are dying, so that's interesting. So I'm gonna add that there. Cool. She's in a building somewhere, flying a glass and falling, and she says her daughter here catches the changing tree. So we really get that autumn in Virginia thing. At least I get it from just my background knowledge, right? I'm a DC kid, know a lot about the Civil War. My brother was a huge Civil War buff, know the importance of Virginia in that particular place. So she's mixing like this, the vibe I'm getting is this mixture of Civil War, this ecological issues that are popping off, and also this is autumn, this time where things decay and they die. So very like visual poem. I dig that a lot. All right, cool. So we got that deal and person more there. Her daughter is there. All right, cool. So kind of reread through the poem again. Interesting. We got their dogs, their lifeless birds all over the place. Boys in blue in dress blues with bayonets, which really is that's the Union Army if I'm not mistaken, or that's the image that I'm getting in my head. Box ships, meadowlarks, house wrens, chickadees, starlings, and her daughter are all people that kind of explicitly there. Also, the poet is mentioned, right? Nope, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. All right, cool. Well, leave that. Why might this poem have been written? I'm thinking this person believes in the environment, so they might be an environmentalist. They might be a historian, because the Civil War vibes are definitely there. There's someone who is like concerned with the future. I think I'll roll with that. All right, cool. How does this poem make you feel? Hmm. Kind of makes me feel a little depressed, actually. It also makes me feel uh, intrigued because, like, in terms of just, it made a lot of the neurons in my brain fire off about what was the actual meaning, what might be like the symbolic meaning of some of the things that she was saying. All right, so I was intrigued as well. I'm also like hopeful actually, because at the end of the poem, she's kind of talking about her daughter in the future. So I think that I'm all of those things. All right, locations mentioned: battlefield, ocean, courthouse. Um, there's a building with 14 stories, so 14 a 14-story building is there as well. So I'm thinking like there's also this like homage to history, but like this forward-looking situation as well. The old courthouses of Civil War, this new building that has 14 stories that birds are still falling into in passing, right? There's the point mentioning specific times. October's in the first line. Fall or autumn is kind of like the motif of the entire poem. It's kind of decay and it's changing of things. She mentions that there is sunshine. April is there, and the Civil War in terms of that time period in life. All right, cool. All right. Any words or ideas that seem to be important? All right, really the idea of birds. She really does that. Daughter and her daughter. How I read her daughter is like the future is very important to her as well. But birds, her daughter, um, and like this feeling of that fall idea, and not just the stage and the calendar, but also like the stage in how humanity is running. Right? She has this kind of she waffles a little bit in the middle of the poem in terms of like, should I have a kid? And at the end, she talks about her daughter. Right? So that is probably good enough that we can start to play around with some things. Now, if you're someone who's not used AI before, do not worry about it. The biggest things you can do is be very descriptive and have an understanding of what you want the AI to do. Again, this is why this part that we did right now is super important for your learners. We have some ideas, we have some concepts. If we wanted to go further, and our time, I don't want to spend 3 hours on this, but we want to go further, we could really deep dive into a lot of different aspects of the Civil War, of this particular part in Virginia. Is this Virginia Beach? Like where exactly this person is? We can really go in deep dive. But we've got enough now that if we go to the AI, we'll be able to prompt engineer the way we would like. All right. And that being the case, there's two ways in Stable Diffusion. This is the thing I would use in a classroom. Midjourney has a free option, but you have to go through Discord to use the bot. It's probably going to be blocked, especially in Clark County. It's not something your students are going to be able to do, and they have to have credentials and stuff. So it's not something we want to kind of get into. Stable Diffusion, as you saw previously, and as you're going to see now, a lot simpler to use, no logins. It's just click on the website and rock and roll. So there's two ways we can do this. I'm going to do the easier but longer way first. So I'm going to click there. All right. So if you look at the very top of the screen there's this word Stable Diffusion up here in the top left-hand corner. There's Playground, which you'll come to in a second. There'll be the features, things you can learn about it, the FAQs, search prompts. I'm going to stop there first before we get to the place that we want to go. Now, if you want to kind of circumvent having to take a lot of time to build your prompts, you might find a prompt that someone else has that's pretty close to what you want. So, for example, if I were to search, let's say search the prompts for Virginia. All right, cool. All right, cool. We've got some pictures of presidents, pictures of, all right, so we got some vampires and stuff. So, probably not exactly what I want. So I'm going to go up here and let's go to prompt generator. And you're going to notice that there's three boxes here. This is where I would tell you to start with your creation process, especially if you've never used Stable Diffusion before. Now, we're going to get some inspiration first from my ideas here. And you take your students on kind of a journey. All right. What did you see as you were writing the poem? What image popped in your head? All right. And we're going to build a prompt. We're going to build the prompt the same way we would build a sentence. We can use the basic who, what, when, where, why, how, right? I'm going to say there is a woman on a beach looking out over the water with her child in her arms. She stares longingly at the waves, hoping that the world will change. There is a tall building behind her. All right. We got a who, right? What is she doing? She's got the kid in her hands. Where is she at? She's on a beach. There's a building behind her. We can go into deep, like we can really build the scene up. The other thing to think about is how do you want this to look? So we really want to, and there's some resources, plenty of places online where you can talk about what kind of film that you wanted on it, where the light is. You really be super descriptive. The more descriptive you can be, the better. But I'm not expecting like a 6-year-old to have that understanding. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to copy that. And we're going to put that in that short text prompt button and click generate prompts. So this is going to take a little while to do. And this is, again, I would start here, but this is the one that's going to take it some time to kind of look at your situation. And in their terms, they're going to prettify your prompt. They're going to add some embellishments and things to it. While it's doing that, I'm going to go and make a Google search. Animatron, even though it's a cool tool. I'm going to use Andy's. Andy Search is another AI tool who is a famous Civil War photographer. All right. So this is going to this can be embedded in your Canvas module if you need to. But Matthew Brady already knew the answer to that question. If you've seen the very famous PBS documentary by Ken Burns, Matthew Brady and his photography is mentioned all the time inside there. We can do a picture in the style of Matthew Brady. And so this might be a situation if your students have pre-existing knowledge or if you were to bring them to this particular place. What if we made a photograph that looks like Matthew Brady's work? And the cool thing about this tool is it'll summarize that information for me. So I don't want to read all that. I want to see just like the big pieces of Matthew Brady's work. Matthew Brady was a famous photographer of the American Civil War. He was born in 1823 or 1824. Great. He opens the Daguerrean Miniature Gallery. So the daguerreotypes is what we're going to deal with. So that's the word that we want. We want our picture to perhaps look like this, right? Let's take that. And this is going to prove again that you're really digging deep into that poem. She mentions whether, you know, directly or indirectly the Civil War and that kind of concept. It might be really cool to build a daguerreotype type picture here. Let's see if this has popped up yet. All right, so that's still didn't generate my prompt for me. All right, so let's do this. Let's take that same prompt that we have. And let's stipulate that we want a photograph. All right, so we don't want just regular art, we want a photograph. So a photograph of a, and let's kind of speculate some others, let's add some other ideas to this situation here. So women are looking over, that's great, wonderful. Let's talk about when. All right. It is fall, or let's say autumn, because we know that it's not going to misinterpret what that word is. It is autumn during the Civil War. It is autumn during the Civil War. The image is I don't want to misspell this word, so I'm going to take that. The summarize button again. I'm just going to copy that, so I don't mess that word up. Bada bing. Still didn't give me my magic one, so good. All right, cool. And we're going to see what this pulls away. The other thing that this helps your students do, if I don't get exactly what I want, I can edit and trim and move words around or eliminate words in order to get a truer picture of what's in my head. And this is a great, it's one of the best things that I've done with AI over the last month or so, is just look at something in my description of it and say, how can I make my description a little bit better? Let's see what it does with that. And there's an error. All right, cool. So let's refresh. I'm going to copy that, refresh the page. And this is a free tool, so again, we can't be too mad at it. Lots of stuff that's there. All right, cool. What's it saying? What do you need to do? All right, cool. Let's do this. The daguerreotype of a woman and child. Let's take a real simple. Okay, what is our issue today? Let's see. If you notice again, one of the classrooms I was in last week, we did this thing, and that's super important to make sure that you tell learners. Due to the large number of users, the server may experience problems. If you encounter an error, try again. That is the whole idea here. The daguerreotype of a woman and her child. Now, what you will notice here is there's a negative prompt. The negative prompt when that pops up is, what don't you want to see in the picture? All right. So there is no, I don't know, there are no trees. Let's see what pops up. Here we go. All right, let's see what happens. So as it's building that, we're talking about problem solving skills. All right, make sure that we paid attention to that little sentence that told us that we need to try and try again. Again, an error again. I don't know why prime time when we want it to work. It's queued up. Just again, lots of people are using these tools right now. Mid-Journey is a better tool in my opinion, but again, it costs. It costs money. It's very difficult to use in terms of there's a lot more of the syntax and things you have to be able to knock out and do. I'm wondering what our deal here. So I'm gonna go and kill those and see if we can if there was something wrong with that particular thing. So let's do that. Let's see. Man, we are really this really doesn't like us today, huh? Okay. Let's see if we can identify what the problem is. Super interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if one of their prompts will work. Yeah, seems like one of their prompts is working. So let's do this. Yeah, don't want to do that. Let's see what happens. Will it give it to me? It is still. Let's just do a Civil War photo and see what pops up. So it generated that. Super interesting. Again, try again. Mid-Journey, again, better tool. This is freeware. This is the reason why I wanted to kind of demo this, but this is not making me look very good. Let's see what pops off. Let's see. It's something in the prompt that it didn't like because it seems to be working. I couldn't see that entire error message there. Very interesting. So it's going to give us a Civil War photo. Let's start from there. Let's see what pops off. It seems to be processing pretty decently. Let's see. All right, cool. So not super good. It's a low quality picture. That kind of looks like Rasputin kind of in the middle. You see this kind of Matthew Brady-ish type look. It has that tinge in the back of it. So it's getting those vibes, which is fine. All right. Let's see if we can make it do something better than that. So a beach with birds. Let's say I want it to be a high quality. All right, so we're going to play again. Problem solving, critical thinking. Started very, very simple again. We'll just add some more words to see what pops off. And let's see whatever the results of this picture we're going to take. And we're going to do the last little piece. So we also want students not just to make the art, but to take it and present it back to us in a way. If you're a CCSD teacher, the tool that we're going to present with is a tool you have free access to. If you're not a CCSD teacher, you have access to the tool, just it's not going to be the premium version of the tool. But this is a tool that I used for the majority of my career. It's a wonderful tool because all of the things that we want to build are all kind of based in the tool. Canva is like this tool as well. So if you're someone who's really good with Canva, Canva has the ability for you to make videos and audio and everything, right? All right, cool. So we do have the vibes that are there. Same vibes, like the Garo type vibe. Cool. People look a little weird. Look like more colonialists or colonists, right? Rather. All right, that works. We're going to take these. Now, it gives you 4 pictures. We can save the images the way we would like them. All right, if you got a Chromebook, this is going to work. So if kids on a Chromebook, it's not going to be a problem. It's going to save these pictures really quickly. I'm just going to work with this one. It looks, it doesn't look the best, but you know, whatever. Let's go demo one, demo stable diffusion one. All right, cool. So we got that deal. All right, back. Let's take this one. Demo SD2. Demo SD3. If we had like unlimited time, I'd keep messing around. Don't do that. I'd keep messing around with the image, keep adding words, subtracting words, seeing what it let me do and what it wouldn't let me do. Demo SD4. All right, cool. So I've got those 4 pictures. So Adobe Creative Cloud Express is my go-to tool for students, just because, again, if you're Clark County, your students have premium access to this tool without you doing anything. Once they log in for the first time, they'll have access to all the templates and all that wonderful stuff. If you are a teacher person who doesn't know how to use this tool, it's one of the situations where you let your students kind of explore and play around with things. It's not even though it looks like there's a lot of stuff on the screen, it's not a super complicated tool. So the first thing is that plus sign up at the top, and then determining how do we want to make sense of the 4 pictures that we had. We could take those pictures and make a video out of them. We could take the pictures and make a web page out of them. We can make just some graphics. Totally up to you. I'm going to do the video just because it's one of the things that I think kids dig. And what you'll see is video right there. So I'm going to click that. And let's call it Virginia Autumn. This is only going to take us like 5 minutes to do. Excellent. Now, you could utilize any of those things if you would like. I'm just going to hit start from scratch because I'm going to play around with this entire concept here. Now, this is going to pop up for us. Great, fine, dandy, we're good. I want to get the pictures inside here. And this is something you can totally do with your Chromebook. Kids can do it with their phone apps work as well. But this is something that you can do for not only poetry and this kind of situation, for like anything that kids need to make meaning of and send back to you. It's a lot more interesting way to do it than I wrote a 5-page essay or whatever it is. So, but when we first get here, there's a place where we can actually use our voice if we would like. I generally don't do that just because it's going to kind of hold you to kind of 10 seconds. Don't want to do that. There's 4 different ways we can put information in here: a video, text, photo, or icon. We also could look over here on the right-hand side. We can make the thing full screen. We can split the screen. We can make a caption at the bottom, or we can do a title and text. We can also change the themes. I'm just going to change that to my work deal. So a lot of my design work and all kinds of stuff like that, I do in Adobe Cloud Express just because it's fast. All right, so we have all those different deals. I'm going to go to Noir because I just kind of feel that that's kind of the hustle here. That's the feeling I get from it. You can do widescreen or square. So if you're going to share this to Instagram or like TikTok or something like that, you might want to use the square version. And that music deal. Kids love music. I'm going to show you a way to get music into this that's not music native to the particular program. So let's get started. I'm just going to bring the pictures in first. And let's click here. And this is a title page, so I'm not going to use the title page first. New page, and I want to do a caption. All right, photo. And you'll notice that there's photos that are already built inside here, but I'm going to upload a photo. And where am I going to upload that photo? That demo one. And open it. Right, so I got the first photograph in there, plus sign, the caption again, add the photo, upload the photo. I'm going to put 2 in there now. Excellent. That's going to go where I want it to go. All right. And do it again. I want that to be caption deal. use the photograph, upload the photo. Let's go to 3. Great. I'm gonna play around with these the prompts and make it a little bit prettier. Caption, photo, upload. This is this last one. 4. There we go. All right, super cool. So those are inside there. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I like the captions because I can write a brief sentence about it. But also I'm gonna create a title page here. All right, this is gonna be Virginia Autumn, and we're gonna get the poet's name correct. Copy your name so I don't misspell it. I'm gonna paste the name there. Cool. I'm also going to take that and I'm gonna add a photo behind it just because. Why not? Let's see what it gives us for Virginia. All right. That's kind of cool because it has the water. That really gives that autumn vibes to me. So cool. I got the vibes. My title page there. Great. And now we can have the student make meaning of the actual poem, right? Let's break that down to four kind of ideas. So first we've got the poet is worried about the environment. I'm gonna take that and move it there. Now we're gonna see the whole picture. All right, cool. They mention that birds are dying. All right, cool. They live close to a beach, but worry about the future. Let's see. Let's move it a little bit more. I want to get on that like weird head that works. The poem makes me think about how we might help the environment. All right, cool. Just super quick kind of analysis of that. You could have a rubric that asks the kid to break things down, but that's just off the top of my head what I'm thinking. All right, great. So I've got title page, my 4 little ideas from the pictures. Great. The last thing I want to kind of do is choosing music. The choice of music, if you're into a movie or watch a television show, sets the mood as well. So the music that your students choose to add to this particular piece is also going to tell you whether they understand. Is it a very grave song? Is it a happy song? Like the music choice has to fit the narrative of the poem. And so one of the places we can go, and we're almost done here, is Mixkit. And if this is not a site that you know of, this is a site you should know of if you're a teacher because the songs and the videos and things that are here are free for the most part. There's Envato actually owns it. Envato, excuse me, actually owns it. But there's lots of things you can get on this site for free. There's stock video, there's stock music, there's style sound effects, and also video templates that you can use. And so what we're going to do is find music, and I am going to type the word dreary in there. All right, cool. All right, so these are all in Vanto. So they found no results. The green ones, all ones I can't take. So I'm going to take sad and see what comes up. Great. So I've got some music here. Those at the top can't use, but these up here I can. All right, slow trail, sleepy cat. Let's see what that sounds like. That doesn't give me the vibe. Voice in the past. See that? That kind of gives me that kind of nostalgic, very pensive type. I'm gonna roll with that. So I'm gonna take that. This works on the Chromebook, so no problems. So I'm gonna hit that. Come back to my, and I'm gonna see that add my music. So I'm gonna click there, and bada bing, and open. Should add the song. It's there. And now, if we play, bada bing. And we did that all within an hour. Right? It's going to take your students a little longer than that, probably. It's a 2 or 3 day job. But they can build a video very, very quickly with images that they build from Stable Diffusion, or images they use that are already inside of Canva or Adobe Creative Cloud Express or what have you. Also by analyzing a poem, and their analysis is something that can be watched in 24 seconds rather than you doing some kind of deep dive 5-paragraph or 5-page essay. Something that is going to be a lot more enjoyable for them to do. Also, it's going to teach them those 21st century skills that we constantly are in need of in terms of analyzing a particular problem, thinking about a way that in which we can portray that particular the solution to that problem using the technology that we have on hand, and also again AI. We were able to build those things with AI. As I said before, if we had unlimited time, I'd go back and I would go and play with those prompts over and over again until they gave me exactly what I wanted, until the faces were perfect and everything was good. But we don't have unlimited times. And it's okay to put forward a product and then say, okay, look, if I didn't have the time constraints that I had, would look a certain different way. See a problem with that at all. Now, this particular process is a process that you can utilize for anything and everything. It doesn't matter if it's poems, if it's not poems, or whatever it is. All things, all of those products are free. They didn't cost you anything. Poets.org is totally free. Adobe Creative Cloud Express, whether you're in the Clark County School District or not, if your district has a email address that is an edu or .mb.ccsd or your district email, you'll be able to sign up for that service for no money. That doesn't cost you anything, and you take that product and you put it inside of your learning management system, and you'll be good to go. And so overall, it's a process that takes you no time. Also gives your students the ability to create variability. Everyone's video, analysis of the poem, prompts are going to be different. You're going to see all these different variations of success that allow you to also peer into the mind of your learners, see how they view the world as well. All right, so AI isn't something that you have to be afraid of at all. It's a super cool tool. Again, Midjourney, if you've got an extra couple dollars, Midjourney is a wonderful place for you to start to experiment with your own graphics and things. If you have not used Chat GPT, another tool to start to experiment with. But Stable Diffusion, because it's free, because it doesn't keep any information on the user, is probably what I would utilize in class, knowing, however, that those servers are very busy because lots of people are utilizing those things. All right, that's what we got for tonight. We'll be back next Wednesday, another poetry-focused deal to look at haiku and kind of building haiku around audiograms and whatnot. Kind of an interesting process, something dope for you to do, especially if you are in the midst of standardized testing. It'll give your students a creative outlet for when they relieve themselves of having to go and sit down at the computer and just like type numbers and things. What could we make with those machines? What could we make with other people? All right, so for the playground, this is Mike Lang. Follow edX at edXMachina on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. I will be in touch If you love this video, great. Toss comments and whatnot. And we'll see you next week at 5 o'clock, Wednesday, every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. God bless everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace.